Well, ladies and gentlemen, I know I have the best job in the world, but tonight it just got a whole lot better. And I was extremely privileged when Fred asked me to interview the wonderful, the first ever Chancellor of ALU, Graça Machel.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you.
Graça, I know that you've been a passionate advocate for education all of your life, but can you tell us a little about your own educational journey, how it started out for you, and why you have such a passionate ambition to make it available to everyone?
Thank you, Pam. Honestly, I think after everything has been said and done this evening, you and I do not make much sense at this stage of the evening. But this afternoon, I was watching every single one of the young people who participated in the assembly. And I could see my own personal journey, where I come from, what education has made for me to break the cycle which my family was visionary enough to understand that giving me an opportunity to be educated in the best conditions possible those years, they were giving me the most empowering opportunity to be whoever I would choose to be. I was looking at these young people because they have been given this opportunity both by their parents and everyone who participated to make this university possible. And I could see that their potential and what they can be has no limit. So I just want to say that it's not about my journey. It's about a journey which every single young child of our continent, when given the right opportunity, can achieve the impossible. So I embrace this initiative precisely having at the back of my mind my personal reference, but having the millions and millions of children and young people in our continent who we have the responsibility to give those opportunities.
And Chancellor, you are a global thought leader. You are one of the busiest women in the world. This is another responsibility on those very broad shoulders. How were you persuaded to take on this role?
It has been said already that Fred is one of those people who doesn't take anything for no. I had made a decision that I was not going to take any other responsibility because I have too many in my hands. But when he came to see me and he briefed me about the university, this university, its vision and what it can achieve, there's a child in me who woke up and I could see this, regardless of the decades of years I have, I still can fly with these young people. And I said to myself, this is an opportunity for me to get another leaf of life with them, from them, learning, and I accepted that because it is transformative to myself. So it's, in some sense, it is it is a selfish interest. But at the same time, I felt that there is a responsibility which my generation has towards the generation of Fred, the generation of students here, is to pass the torch in a way they continue to be rooted and grounded in African soil, African values, African positive traditions, African culture, so that yes, as they shoot to the moon, they still have to be very rooted on the soil of African culture. And for that to happen, some of us has to be very close to them and hold them as they go up, and you tell them, go up, son and daughter, no problem, because even if something goes wrong there, we will be here to sustain you. We will not break your spine. And that's why I'm here. And Pam, let me take this opportunity to say something which is very important for our children here to listen to. Do embrace all the innovations which the world can allow you to. Learn from all the experiences which from east to west, from north to south, you can choose at the best to meet your vision. But be uncompromising in remaining deeply Africans. And I see then this initiative precisely by young Africans, for Africans, as the renewal of the dream of freedom, which the forefathers of this continent, when they had that long vision to say one day all of us will be free. Now this generation is said freedom today has another meaning. The meaning is how do we grasp the best of knowledge, of science, of technology, to take the aspirations of millions of Africans to materialize in a way we rescue and we reclaim our own origin of being Africans, but we catch up, as Fred was saying, with the 21st century. That's what I see in this initiative.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And today at the Assembly, we heard some very confident, inspiring young women. Is there something that ALU has to say to girls in particular?
Yeah. Yes. While we were watching them, we were not looking at girls and boys. We were looking at young Africans. So they are, in practice, in experience of daily life, they are breaking the barriers which in our communities, gender is still established as discrimination. I want to say to them, don't take it for granted. Don't believe that because you are already breaking those barriers, they have been broken everywhere else. You have the responsibility of forging that kind of relationship of mutual respect, dignity for each other, to transform it and to make it part of what, when they say we are to transform Africa, it's also to transform gender relations. And it is a fundamental element of what they say when they want to be the leaders. I want also to say something. All the young people who presented in the afternoon and this evening, you don't have to know who is Muslim, who is Christian, who is atheist, who comes from which country. We really don't know, and honestly, it doesn't matter. But what is important is that they don't take it again for granted, that the outlook of many Africans, they still classify themselves as someone who comes from Cameroon, or who comes from Kenya, or who comes from Swaziland, or even from Mozambique or Angola. Worse even, they classify themselves as English speaking, French speaking, Portuguese speaking. They do not yet go back and say their language of identity is Yoruba, is Xhosa, is Swahili, is Xiswati. Why this is important? It goes back to what I was saying, to be rooted and grounded. They are breaking the discrimination and the division, artificial divisions, which were imposed on us by the colonial system. But more importantly, now they have to reclaim the real identity of Africans before colonialism came here. And that's when they are going to say, I am an African. Because their basis is not in this layer where they start from to transform from colonial system. Their basis of transformation is taking the values of Africanness and make them the inspiration of how they reclaim their identity, and in that identity, they position themselves in the global landscape. I'm saying this as an elder, not necessarily as chancellor, but as an elder, to say, you know, I'm extremely proud of what is happening here. It is one of those moments where you say, yes, young people on our continent are taking control, not only of their own affairs, but they are preparing themselves in a way the future of this continent is in safe hands with these young people. It's in safe hands. But they need to be aware that reclaiming and regaining that identity, it doesn't happen on its own. It requires a serious work. I'm saying, as you research, as you innovate, go deep and say, who are we? Who have we been even before we were colonized by the British, by the French, by the Portuguese, but whoever they are? Not that they don't have anything positive to teach us. That's why we partner with the Glasgow Caledonian University. But you know what? She is deeply British. Her roots are British and Scottish, if you like.
Scottish, please.
Yes, Scottish. We also, as Africans, we have to be able to say, I am a Yoruba, I am a Swati, I am, all these things of who we are, which is deep down there, which we don't recognize immediately. It has to become part of our DNA when we put Africa into the moon, as it says, but to put it exactly in the landscape in levels of recognition and dignity, to be recognized as who we are and to be recognized as such. So it's a huge, huge transformation which is taking place in this campus.
And this is a new kind of ethical leadership for Africa. It's not just ethical leadership then.
I would like even to suggest that ethical leadership requires for each one of them to first and foremost, to know who are the people they are preparing themselves to serve. To know that they are not numbers, they are people. In their diversity as they are diverse. And having that in their eyes and mind and in their hearts, they have the face of a child, the face of a woman, the face of the young, the face of the rural, the face of the urban, the scientist, the farmer, all this diversity of our people to know they are preparing themselves not for the numbers, they are preparing for the reality of all these people in their diversity. Ethical leadership, in my view, begins by giving recognition and dignity to every single human being. Without that, you will make decisions on the basis of the numbers in your country or the number in your region, etc., but you will not touch the feelings, the aspirations, and what they call the potential of every citizen in the area of your jurisdiction. Ethical leadership begins by recognizing that. The second one is to recognize that out of diversity, you have the strength. What we call in politics, we call the nation building. They may not have been thinking of this, but Pan-Africanism, it does not negate the fact that you are Kenyan and that you are Togolese and the fact that you are Cameroonian. It means the strengths of all this build the Pan-African Africa we are. And because of that, recognizing that identity, but making it the strengths of Pan-Africanism is something I believe they have to work seriously on. It's not going to happen on its own. They are here, almost 200 of them. Then they will become 10,000. They will become at that time 250,000 of them. But there will still be millions and millions who make the billions we are going to become. To be able to transform the billions, these millions who are going to come out of our universities have to have clarity to say, what do I want to transform? And that is the ethical leadership, which I think. Of course, then you come with all the issues of respecting the public good, of law and order. All these elements, but they come because you respect the human dignity at the end of the day. Yeah.
Wonderful answer there. Yes, I think that deserves a clap. Thinking about your involvement in development more widely, how do you think the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals will support this kind of work for Africa? And I was thinking, is there a key role that the wonderful student leaders in this room and their problem solvers should be seeking to play as an advocate or, more importantly, as an actor in the delivery of these Sustainable Development Goals?
Maybe I should go back to who they are and how they are doing things. Sustainable development, it's simply a common vision, not even as long as the vision which the ALUD has, because it's only of 15 years. But it's a common vision and the strategy which the human family says, these are the goals and targets we have to achieve, again, to recognize and to provide, and to recognize and give dignity for all. So, in a way, if they want to understand what sustainable development is what they are having here. The right to education, the right to health, the freedom to think and to express themselves, not discrimination of any kind. I mean, the microcosmos of what the sustainable development goals are is being implemented on a daily basis in this campus. But what you are asking is, are we all in the different regions of the globe, in different levels in which we are operating, are we so united and so committed and really so determined to reach those goals as they are?
Yes.
That's
exactly.
the question.
Exactly.
As these young people are. Because if we were able to mobilize the same kind of energy, commitment, determination, and believe that everything is possible as they are, then the Sustainable Development Goals, they wouldn't be an issue. Absolutely. Because knowledge is available. Resources in the world are available. Capacity in the world are available. But what the rest or many of us are lacking is precisely the determination and the commitment to mobilize resources. Fred didn't get all the resources to make the ALU from Africa. He came to you, and he came to the investors who are Africans and non-Africans. But he was able to identify who can make the job happen. This is what we need to find people committed everywhere in different capacities, really to make sure no one is left behind. No one, no woman, no child is going to be dying of preventable diseases. Education of quality for every child. No discrimination against women. Bringing all races and all the beliefs together as a human family. That is possible. It is being proven here. But what is lacking is the same determination and the same belief and commitment.
So, Chancellor, finally, are there any thoughts or words of advice that you would like to offer to our current students and our future students who are watching this?
Well, there are two, but one I have referred already, is that they always have to plunge deep and reclaim the African identity and propel it to the moon. The second is, this is a remarkable reinvention of what tertiary education is in our continent and actually in the world. But the world changes very rapidly. What is right now in 2016 might require a revisiting and adjusting in 5, in 10, in 20, because this is a vision for 50 years, right? So my message to them is, you have sown the seeds very rightly, but you have to keep caring, watering the plant you have now put on the soil to make sure it is robust, it grows. You prune it, you make sure that really it will become that big tree which will cover the whole of our continent. But it will give fruits which can also feed other peoples in the world. But it needs care. It needs every kind of revisiting all the time. In other words, I'm saying, well done, absolutely well done for reinventing the tertiary education system, not only on our continent, but in the world. But keep reinventing. Watch exactly how the world evolved, how the market, the workforce, the workplace demands you to adjust. even in issues of leadership, how do you need to interrogate more and more what ethical leadership it means? So don't sit in your laurels. Keep re-examining, perfectioning, making, as we are, this very, very proud experience we are witnessing today, so that it is going to be validly innovative in 20 and 30 and 50 years. That's my message to all of them. They are writing actually a new chapter of what the meaning of freedom and liberation for us. And because of that, 50 years later, it should never happen to you what has happened to my generation, where people will say, oh yes, they did fight for liberation, it is true. But what did they do with the freedom which they conquered? You have the lessons of my generations. Your performance should never be questioned in terms of the results you offer to your children and your grandchildren. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hands together for our inspirational Chancellor, Graça Machel. Thank you.